This time, come along with me to Campbell Lake and the dozens of surrounding recreation sites. Campbell Lake is on Vancouver Island, just to the east of the city of Campbell River. It's a beautiful spot surrounded by forests and mountains. The whole region is full of rec sites. Now, you may not be familiar with rec sites. So, they can range from little wilderness day use areas along the side of a logging road or along a pond or lake where you could have a picnic or maybe launch a boat for some fishing, up to full fledged campgrounds. Many of them are accessible by car, but for some you'll need four-wheel drive. Some are accessible only by boat or hiking trail. Some rec site campgrounds have maybe one or two or three sites, five or six. Some may have 20 or 30. Now, in contrast to BC provincial parks, which tend to be more developed, have more amenities like water and sewer and flush toilets and showers, they're more commercialized. Rec sites are pretty primitive. Most smaller rec sites are free to use, often open year round. The larger ones are typically a little cheaper than BC provincial parks. BC Parks manages provincial parks, and Recreation Sites and Trails BC manages most rec sites. Until 2024, these agencies were under separate ministries, but as of last year, they're now both under the BC Ministry of the Environment, although they still are sort of separate agencies with different mandates. And I should note, again, not all rec sites are run by the provincial government. There are some that are run, for example, by forestry companies. Others are run by utilities like BC Hydro. So there's a whole string of provincial rec sites along the northern shore of Campbell Lake, kind of between Loveland Bay Provincial Park and Strathcona Dam. So we'll start with the main one, which is called Campbell Lake or Campbell Reservoir Rec Site. And you enter the campsite down a steep drive off of Campbell Lake Forest Service Road. It's a long, narrow campground that's right on the beach. There are 25 sites. 17 sites are right on the water. 8 of the sites are on the opposite side of the road in the forest, but again, still with easy access to the water. Each site has a picnic table and a fire pit. There's a nice beach with a mix of sand and gravel, and there is a primitive boat launch. Pit toilets are found throughout the campground. There is a site host, but note that there's no cell service, no electricity, no water, no sewer hookups, no sewer dump site, no garbage receptacles. So you will need to be self-contained. You'll have to pack out whatever you pack in, and you will need to bring your own water or be prepared to boil or otherwise sterilize water from the lake. Campbell Lake Rec Site is open May 15th to September 1st, and as of 2025, the rate is $18 per night. About half the sites are reservable through vicamping.com. I'll put a link down in the description. But like I said, Campbell Lake Rec Site is the main campground here, but on the way there, you'll pass a few smaller sites. If you're coming from Campbell River, you'll pass Loveland Bay and the Loveland Bay Provincial Park, and beyond that, you'll hit Burnt Beach Rec Site. It's a small one with 6 campsites in it. There's Gosling Bay, 5 campsites, and Petite Gosling, which is just a single campsite with sort of a primitive boat launch. And then Fir Grove Rec Site, it has 2 campsites. And if you take a short detour up Gosling, Maine, you'll find the Gosling Lake Rec Site on Gosling Lake. It has 6 campsites. These are all small, free waterfront campgrounds. Each site has a fire pit and a picnic table, and there's typically a single pit toilet shared by all the sites in the little campground. These sites are all first come, first served, and they are open year-round. Now, after you've passed the larger Campbell Lake Rec Site, as you're heading west along Campbell Lake Forest Service Road, you'll find another string of small campgrounds between there and the dam. These sites are maintained by a site host who operates out of Orchard Meadow Rec Site. Most of them are open year-round, and most have an $18 per night fee between May 15th and September 1st. The first is one of my favorites. I like to ride my gravel bike on a loop around the lake, and I almost always stop at Dogwood Bay. It's a small campground with 6 sites overlooking the lake. It's got a primitive boat launch and a nice beach area. After that, you'll come to Loon Bay, again, another beautiful little site. It's got 8 campsites in it, and a nice sandy beach when the water level is low, so later in the summer. The next site is Fry Peninsula. This one's a little bit different. It's a free site. There's one campsite as you enter the site from the Forest Service Road. After that, the road kind of meanders through the site. This one's quite a bit larger than the others, and you'll find campsites kind of in clusters all the way through. The website says there are 7. I've never quite been able to figure out what's a campsite and what's not a campsite there. I also don't find this site nearly as scenic or as nice as the ones that surround it. Then across the lake from Fry Peninsula, on the south side of the lake, is Fry Narrows Wreck Site. It is only accessible by boat. It is also free, and it is part of the Sayward Canoe Route. That's a roughly 45-kilometer route that takes canoes and kayakers through Sayward Provincial Forest lake by lake with portages in between. I think it's about 36 kilometers of paddling and about 8 or 9 kilometers of carrying your canoes or kayaks. Now, the final campground in this string is Orchard Meadow. Down a long drive, there is a host here, and that host also oversees the neighboring wreck sites. It is only open May 15th to September 1st. Unlike the other sites in this little vicinity, it's not open year-round. And Orchard Meadow, it charges $18 per night. The campground has 14 sites. Some of them are on the water. Others are just a bit inland. There's not a lot of privacy. That's often the case in these wreck sites. I've always thought that Orchard Meadow had more of a group camp vibe to it. Now, that covers the wreck sites on the north shore of Campbell Lake, but it was hard for me to know where to stop because between the Campbell Lake sites and the Sayward Canoe Route, you'll find wreck site after wreck site after wreck site as you cruise along the logging roads and visit the lakes that they take you to. I took photos for this video while my wife and I rode our gravel bikes around the area while we were camping up there. So the rest of the wreck sites I'll show you are those that were along our loop, which only really touched a few of them. But first, if you keep heading west from Orchard Meadow along Greenstone Creek Forest Service Road, you'll eventually get to Strathcona Dam at the west and upper end of Campbell Lake. It separates Campbell Lake from Upper Campbell Lake. The road crosses the dam, and just on the other side there used to be a really nice wreck site, but it was removed in order to make the seismic upgrades that they have recently made to the dam. So to replace it, back in 2020, BC Hydro, this is not a provincial wreck site, this one is run by BC Hydro, they built a new one about 2-3 kilometers up the road. It is in an absolutely beautiful setting on the lower east end of Upper Campbell Lake with views of forests and mountains. It was opened in 2021, so it really does still have that new campground feel to it. Everything feels new. There are 14 campsites, and they are all free to use. There are pit toilets, but again, note, it's a wreck site, no electricity, no water, no sewer hookups. It's a great spot to fish for trout and char, and there is a 4x4 accessible boat launch for small boats. You can also walk to the nearby decommissioned Elkmain Trestle. It's an old rail trestle from the Elkmain logging road. It crosses the lake, and nice walk, beautiful views of the lake and surrounding mountains. Now, I have to say, this BC Hydro site is pretty popular, and there are no reservations. So when you get there, you may find a lineup of people waiting for a site. Part of that is because this site is easily accessible from the Gold River Highway. That's Highway 28. You turn off at the Strathcona Dam junction, and this is just a couple kilometers down the logging road. So it's easy to get to, and I would recommend getting there that way as opposed to going along Campbell Lake Forest Service Road and Greenstone Creek Road. But let's go back there. Back across the dam, back to the Forest Service Road junction near Orchard Meadow on the north side of the lake. If instead of taking Greenstone Creek Main to the dam, what if we headed north on Grey Main? Well, that takes us past a series of small wreck sites on Grey Lake and up to Brewster Lake. Grey Lake wreck site has 6 campsites that overlook the lake. It is $18 May 15th to September 1st, and it's open and free the rest of the year. This is another popular site on the Sayward Canoe Route. And then heading north from there, you'll find Brittany Bay. This is, again, a free campsite, open year-round. It only has 2 campsites in it. It's very pretty, but it's tight in there. You will not get a large trailer or RV in. It's a good spot for a tent or if you've got a truck camper. A little further north, and you reach the south end of Brewster Lake where there's a cluster of small wreck sites. There's Camp 5, there's Brewster Camp, and there's Apple Point. These all, except possibly Camp 5, which I think might be free, they all have an $18 per night fee between May 15th and September 1st, but the rest of the year they're free. Brewster Camp is a bit different. It's kind of neat to walk through there. It's operated by the Backcountry Horsemen's Association. It's split on it, so that part of it's on the lake side of the road, part of it's on the forest side of the road. And on the lake side, you'll find some nice lakeside campsites with water access. Again, there's no real privacy between the sites. This would be a good group site. And then on the opposite side of the road, you'll find the horse camp. So it's got kind of a large circular group campground, and next to it there are horse corrals. But the main wreck site in this area on Brewster Lake is Brewster Lake Wreck Site. It's a little bit further north. Again, these are all pretty close together if you're driving. Brewster Lake is a 19-site campground that's accessed by a long service road. It's got a mixture of waterfront and forest campsites. Again, pit toilets, boat ramp, a really nice sandy beach, no electricity, no water, no sewer, no garbage. The campground is open May 15th to September 1st. Again, like the others, it costs $18 per night as of 2025. All the sites here first come, first served, and there is a park host. Now finally, from here, we'll take Menzies Main Forest Service Road from Brewster Lake eastward up over the ridge to Moen Lake. Here's where you really know you're on the Sayward Canoe Route. You'll pass the Moen Lake wreck site, just after passing some warning signs on the road that there's a portage there. This is a small free site with 2 campsites and a little canoe or kayak dock. And if you're there and look out on the lake, you'll see Moen Island out in the middle of the lake. There's another water access only wreck site there that's popular on the canoe route. But the biggest wreck site so far is right next door. It's called Pacific U. Because of all the Pacific yew trees that are in the area. This site was shut down for a long time, but it has recently been rebuilt and reopened in the last couple of years. It has 30 campsites, either on the water or overlooking the water. There's a nice paved concrete boat launch, and there's a small, very nice sandy beach. Next to the boat launch, there's a large parking area for folks doing the Sayward Canoe Route. Pacific U is open May 15th to September 1st. It costs $18 per night. Half the sites are reservable at vicamping.com. Now, how do you get to these places? Well, it depends where you're going. Pacific U, Brewster Lake, that part of this loop is most easily reached via Menzies Main Forest Service Road, which you can reach off the Island Highway north of Campbell River. Further south, the sites along Campbell Lake Forest Service Road are most easily reached via Brewster Lake Road. Normally you'd access that off the Gold River Highway, but the John Hart Dam crossing is closed for a couple more years as they're doing seismic upgrades, so you'll have to go by way of the bypass that's marked off the Island Highway, again north of Campbell River. You could also take the Gold River Highway out to Strathcona Dam, cross the dam, and take Greenstone Creek and Campbell Lake Forest Service Road from the west, or from the west back east to where these campsites are, but that's a longer way to go, I think, than if you were to take Brewster Lake and Campbell Lake Forest Service Road. And of course, Take note that no matter which way you go, you're going to be driving on logging roads. So be sure your vehicle can handle potholes, washboard, other less than ideal road conditions, and be prepared to meet logging trucks and other industrial traffic. So that's all for this video. I haven't even come close to exhausting all the wreck sites in the area. So if you'd like more information, if you'd like to explore, if you'd like to see more photos, check out sitesandtrailsbc.ca.